Welcome to it. Great to be with you on a Tuesday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, doing all right. So hope you are as well. We'll get into it with Mitch Sherman. Mitch from The Athletic. He'll join us at 4:25, get his take on his latest column, the Nebraska Brand Power. TV numbers, TV on our mind, with reports about the CBS and NBC networks joining with Fox to get all of the Big Ten, and we'll discuss that ESPN, $1 million or $1 billion question when it comes to potentially walking away from that network that is all in on college football. So we'll go there. Rick Kaczenski, Nebraska's former defensive line coach, Iowa former defensive line coach, a Tuesday with Kaz. Get his thoughts on some college football topics and specifically the depth and rotation you have to have with the Big Ten schedule. Then Mike St. James will join us. Spoiler alert now, spoiler alert at 5:40. As we are down to it, we love talking Better Call Saul with Mike St. James. Mike, one of the biggest Better Call Saul guys there is. We got turned on to it by a dear friend and radio colleague, Timo, who actually went to college with Bob Odenkirk. So there's a little 6 degrees of separation there. And reviewing last night's episode.
Now, I wanted to get Mike's take, too, on the news that dropped about Bob Odenkirk this week from his Twitter page. Do you not see this?
No, what?
He's into feet.
Oh, no. Like Rex Ryan?
Like he's into feet.
No.
Oh.
As a joke?
Well, he went and cleaned his Twitter following of anything that was related to the appreciation of feet.
You know, whatever. Like, you can be into shoes, you can be into kicks, and then there's Rex Ryan.
And Bob Odenkirk now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that just dropped. That just kind of like someone was going through everyone he was following on Twitter and said, whoa, what's this?
Thank you for ruining my day with the foot take.
He can like what he wants. Like,
apparently.
Bob Odenkirk's been a great dude in Hollywood his entire career. If he likes feet, you know.
Whatever.
To each his own. So,
yeah, there is that. So that's shocking news developing here. So that's what we have in store. Thank you for that roundabout, that detour. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Numbers to dial up. Can find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, Chris Schmidt, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel. And follow the radio handle at Varsity Radio. And be sure to check out Hail Varsity. So we'll dive in and get to Nebraska and where they are in this college football landscape. And, you know, as a native Nebraskan, you grow up and you went, you watched, you listened. It was a part of you because you don't have your own other Division I school in state for football. You don't have a pro squad within the state borders when it comes to the NFL or XFL. For a brief time, you had UFL football with the Nighthawks. And then this is it. This is what the state's known for. Hard-working, great people. It's known for producing incredible steaks and in corn. And then it's known for Nebraska football, right? That's been associated with the state for a long time. And it took quite a while to build up, and you had many decades of excellence, and now you're trying to get back on that front porch of being a name in the world of college football. And it's interesting, in Mitch Sherman's story that was published this morning, you had a survey that was out, and this was tweeted, I think, last week, of the top 25 brands that the latest high school seniors, that they listed teams and logos and brands that they identify with or know about. And Nebraska was not on that top 25 list. Back in 2018, just right after Scott Frost was hired, the same survey was taken by the high school seniors, a couple of thousand, I believe, and Nebraska was still hanging tough in at 21. You weren't that far removed from the Sioux era, or I guess I'm going to chalk it up to that, and I'm also going to chalk it up to Scott Frost, what he done at Central Florida, and the transfer here to Nebraska as the new head coach, because Central Florida had just gone undefeated. Central Florida was kind of an it program. They whacked Auburn, and that was some great carryover, right? Not just the Nebraska kids coming home to resurrect the program, but also in different footprints, i.e. the Sun Belt and SEC footprint. It's Scott Frost doing work. So that resonated with kids down there. And right now, Nebraska chimes in at 38th. They're a top 40 brand based on this survey of recent high school graduates. I think kids that follow and know football still know about Scott Frost. I think kids that know and follow football in the Midwest absolutely still know about Nebraska. And I think parents and uncles and aunts, the 90s is not lost on a lot of this population, the 70s, the 80s, the Osborne era, the Devaney era. I mean, Nebraska is still known, but when it comes to regenerating that demo, Nebraska's been wandering in the wilderness for far too long. And what they know about Nebraska right now is losing football. And you can flip the script. You look at some of the movers and shakers, the teams that have risen from a brand impact standpoint and fallen, and it can be year to year. Pitt had a really good year. They're up 8 spots, but they're still in the 50s. Northwestern's won 2 of the last 5 Big Ten West championships. They're still towards the bottom 55 through 64 number. And it's a reality here. Now, this has not hurt Nebraska when it comes to getting paid, Elijah, because Nebraska's in the Big Ten and on the doorstep of a massive TV deal with Fox, CBS, and NBC, and potentially walking away from ESPN. That's a bigger discussion point here. The risk, a good column by Sam McEwen on is it a risky move or not to just completely leave ESPN. And to the Big Ten's credit, if ESPN isn't going to pay you what other people are going to pay you, you walk. Totally understand that, the business side of it. But I don't know. I think Nebraska's brand is still known. I think it's a real and legit challenge when Scott Frost or other college coaches within the different programs go outside of the footprint, the 500-mile radius, and have to go talk to kids out on the coast or in the SEC footprint or on the Atlantic part of the country or even in the Ohio Valley region. Yeah, you know of Nebraska, but what you think about Nebraska's changed. And it's more about, man, is there going to be a cornfield next to my dorm? That type of perception, because a lot of it's flyover country. Once you get here, and Coach Frost always talks about, well, once we get kids here, it's a pretty good thing because it is more than just agriculture. And agriculture is a backbone part of the state, but there's also the metro areas that are really pretty awesome. And it's just a fight. And when you're not winning on the football field, it's a harder discussion point to get kids. That's why you have maybe a renewed interest in effort to try and stay within that 500-mile radius, unless it's a transfer situation. Because you can win, and you can win a lot of ball games with kids within the 500-mile radius. So I'm not shocked that the brand is dropped. I still think Nebraska will draw eyeballs, and from a classic brand standpoint, Nebraska will be on the stage, assuming things don't go from bad to worse, win-loss wise. But no, that red end will be in some primetime games on Fox, on CBS, on NBC. That's why Commissioner Delaney went and got him, because of that brand value. He was interviewed by The Athletic not long ago and asked if Nebraska's brand value has diminished, and he refused to comment. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. So it's down, but I don't think there's any question it can rise back up. Is USC based on their football season in recent years. Are they what they once were? Probably not, but guess what? They've got a new got a new coach. They're going to have a new league, and SC from a brand value standpoint is still in that hierarchy.
They're still top 20.
They're still top 20, but they went from a top 5 because they haven't been winning down to 19. UCLA is right at 20, and you have some newbies in there. I mean, Michigan State's had a pretty good run here the last 5 or 6 college football seasons. They're in there. Mississippi State is in at 23, and that's all Pirate because he's so quirky and lovable, a national treasure.
Well, and compare that to what Washington State has done over the past 4 years, where they've dropped 24 spots down to 64.
Because they lost the head coach.
Because they lost the Pirate. And that kind of shows me just how fickle these ratings are and how fickle high school kids are with what they're ranking kids. I mean, Louisville dropped 20 spots in the past 4 years, and that's really only because of Lamar Jackson.
Right.
The only reason high school kids knew Louisville 4 years ago, and that's me, this is whenever I was graduating, we were always talking in the high school locker room, like, who's Louisville playing today? Who can we watch Lamar Jackson go up against? And that's what you know, and that's just how fickle these high school kids are, where Stanford's dropped 28 spots, and that's the combination of losing and no longer having Christian McCaffrey. You look at another team that's dropped a lot.
Or Andrew Luck.
In Purdue.
Right.
Purdue's dropped 18 spots, which is similar to Nebraska, and that's because 4 years ago, what were they doing? They upset Ohio State at home. That team with Rondale Moore and David Bell, and they beat a top 5 team in the country at home, and everyone was talking about Purdue that season. So these rankings are very fickle in terms of teams that are up and teams that are down. It is a good sense, though, of what high schoolers currently think about your program, but that doesn't mean it's going to look anything even remotely similar next season.
I mean, you've got your brands that have had incredible staying power, and the remarkable part is Nebraska was good enough on the field for as long as they were to be in that top 5, top 10, top 15 brand value. Ole Miss, who voluntarily goes to Mississippi?
Me, for one.
Well, you do, but you go why? Because it's a party, and
I have friends down there. Yeah.
You're kicking it at the Grove.
Yeah.
Right. But as far as touring the state, no, you're going to go, you're going to have a cocktail or 7 and look at pretty women and go to a sporting event.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that, which is great. But I'm saying don't kid yourself about the lane effect, right? And you have the Pirate down there. So you've got 2 incredible personalities that have fun offenses that have been putting guys into the league. I mean, that's it. And I know I just threw out the who's going to Mississippi voluntarily. You do because you have friends down there. Why'd they go? Law school?
I have one friend who's actually going off to law school down there this year, but that's because he's gone and visited the Grove, and it's like, wow, that's a great time.
But that's the recruiting tool.
That's a good time.
Yeah,
that is the recruiting tool, pretty much.
But why did they pick to go there? Because you had friends that were undergrads down there.
Undergrads down there, and it was a
did
combination.
They play sports or anything?
A combination of a good engineering program.
Okay, so there's
more because of good frat life and SEC football.
The atmosphere.
Yeah,
the atmosphere. There you go. And that comes down to Nebraska and the atmosphere here. It's pretty incredible. But you got to give them something to cheer about as Nebraska tries to do that. So we'll get into this with Mitch Sherman as well. My immediate take on if Nebraska and the Big Ten say no more to ESPN, can you survive it? Does it hurt? It's just going to be weird. It's going to be different. Right? And does that mean 0 profiles, or is your game going to be mentioned? If you're a top 5 matchup, ESPN can't ignore you. They don't have to do a feature on you anymore, but they can't ignore you. And from the college football playoff, say ESPN and Disney go all in and continue to have the rights for the college football playoff. Are they going to exclude you? Will they have the power to exclude your conference champ or your Ohio State or a second or a third team? Say this thing expands to 12 or 8. I don't believe they're going to keep out a second Big Ten team. I don't think the sport would allow it. I know we've had moments of argument with who got into the 4, right? One year Ohio State jumped some undefeated teams and all hell broke loose. And then, Ohio State won the whole thing with Zeke. So the deserving team got in that had the tougher schedule. I would hope that personal politics of, we're an ACC and an SEC network, so we're going to make sure those those favorites get in. But when push comes to shove, you're going to have Big Ten representation, and they'll be on that stage if ESPN's got control of the college football playoff TV broadcast.
Well,
you can't not include teams that are really good in the conference.
And people are saying, oh, well, you're going to lose all this attention from ESPN. That's where it's changing. Eyes are moving away from ESPN, and the three that are in line to get this contract, Fox, CBS, NBC, those are your three networks that broadcast NFL games on Sundays. The eyes are on the NFL on Sundays, and guess what? There's advertising right there that you can have in your NFL games to prop up next weekend Saturday games. It only means good things for the Big Ten.
We'll see. We'll get Mitch's take on it, and for sure the brand discussion point. Interesting day for youth baseball in the Little League World Series. Hail Varsity continues, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio lesson?
On Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back in, it's Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. We say hi to Mitch Sherman with The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, how's your Tuesday?
My Tuesday's good. How about you, Chris?
We are all right, man. We're hanging in, excited for more football, and really enjoyed your story on The Athletic when it comes to brands and Nebraska and the Big Ten. I want to get your reaction and thought on the possibility here, Mitch, with the TV deal that looms out there for the Big Ten with Fox, CBS, and NBC potentially, which means no ESPN. What's your take on the need to be on ESPN if you're a conference or college football program? Is it something you can overcome, or I guess it's more of a chicken or an egg thing? It's the platform, yes, but it's also the team and the matchup that helps draw the eyeballs.
Well, the Big Ten's still going to be on ESPN as far as getting publicity. You're not going to erase the Big Ten from SportsCenter and College Football Live and the college football playoff programming. So there's that. And you could potentially have non-conference games, against SEC or ACC opponents that are Big 12 opponents that appear on that network. But yeah, this is the direction that the Big Ten is headed now with the new media rights deal that's likely to be announced early next week, in excess of $1 billion annually for the league from its new set of partners that, of course, are going to be led by Fox. That's already signed and sealed, but then NBC and CBS and potentially some streaming deals that involve Amazon or Apple. So that's what we're reporting. That's what others have been reporting over the last couple of days, that ESPN is out. And, that's an ESPN decision. It's a Big Ten decision in some way because the two parties could not meet. And, for as long as most of us have been around college football and have watched the Big Ten, long before Nebraska joined the league in 2011, they were attached at the hip. They were synonymous. And, that's not going to be the case any longer. The Big Ten, of course, can survive this because each one of the schools is going to have $75 or $80 million in its bottom line every year as a result of this deal that does not include ESPN. So while ESPN is such a huge part of the fabric of college football, this is the new age, and what we're heading into is an era with a more diverse lineup of networks and providers that cover the games.
Mitch Sherman's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Mitch, my take on this, and I just said it last segment, and I'll bring it back up again, is while you might be losing a few eyeballs from ESPN, the three networks that are looking to pick up the Big Ten are the three that broadcast the NFL games on Sunday. And they have a much bigger audience than, say, SportsCenter does anyway. So while you're losing one big media player, I feel like you're opening up a new avenue here of every single NFL Sunday, you're going to have these programs while everyone's watching their NFL games. Well, what are they going to sponsor next week? Well, it's college football, the Big Ten on Fox or CBS or NBC. I don't think it's that big a deal. Nebraska and the Big Ten is losing that partnership with ESPN.
Well, I don't think the Big Ten would be entering into this kind of a arrangement if it felt that it was a negative for the schools as far as the publicity that they're going to receive from the networks. Obviously, there's give and take, and there's a lot of attraction to ESPN and ABC. But yeah, like you said, Elijah, there's more out there, and this isn't about necessarily 2023 or 2024. It's about the future, deep into the next decade and beyond for the league. So they want to go into new places, and you can, Chris, you referenced my story earlier today about the Nebraska brand. The piece is on The Athletic, published this morning, timely with this news about the Big Ten brand being worth in excess of $1 billion a year. The question is asked, what is Nebraska's contribution to that, and how is the Nebraska brand trending within the larger scope of the Big Ten? And I think it's not a shock that after 5 consecutive losing seasons, Nebraska's brand is, while diminished somewhat, still strong, still healthy, and doing well according to the data that these TV networks are able to provide with their viewership. So this is just a fascinating time for college football, for the Big Ten, for Nebraska, with where all of this is headed, and how the musical chairs are going to end up with these brands and the number of people who are exposed to them.
Mitch, what do you read into with NBC as part of this theoretical triple header? 11 a.m. Central Fox, 2:30 CBS, 6 p.m. NBC. Does Notre Dame still stay with NBC if they can get the $75 million and start dancing with Big Ten, or does ESPN throw a boatload of cash to keep them with the ACC and have them continue that schedule? Because Notre Dame's still the wild card.
Yeah, it's intriguing with NBC because Notre Dame has been NBC's partner for so long. And I think, to answer your question, if Notre Dame can work a deal where it gets $75 million in its own revenue, outside of a league or in the current arrangement that it has with the ACC, then it's going to be more difficult to lure the football Irish into the Big Ten. But NBC is a carrot, and NBC is, certainly an attraction that helps, the chip that helps, that's there for the Big Ten to be able to play as it pursues Notre Dame. Because there's no doubt that's what, even the conference leaders in Indianapolis last month, when they were evasive in the face of all of the questions about conference expansion and what's next for the Big Ten, the one question that really, did not need to be explained is that Notre Dame is out there and Notre Dame is a desired property. So bringing NBC into the fold, would seem to be an advantage Big Ten when it comes to that courtship.
Mitch Sherman's with us from The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, a thought here. Let's go to Nebraska football. Brandon Moore has joined the program, a safety. You tweeted that out yesterday. What's your reaction? Is it shock that a guy's being brought in this late in the game, or is it a necessity based on what they have at safety? What's your read?
Well, he's an experienced defensive back, has played for Travis Fisher, was in the UCF program in 2016 as a redshirt, in 2017 during the Knights' 13-0 run, started half of the season, stayed with UCF in the next season, the first one under Josh Heupel. That was another undefeated regular season, ended in Phoenix in the Fiesta Bowl, a game that I was at, and watched Brandon Moore take a Joe Burrow interception back 93 yards for a pick six. To think that guy is now coming to Lincoln to play for Fisher in 2022 is intriguing, but he's been through a lot. He's been through a transfer to Florida State, a serious knee injury, and some shuffling of his position in the secondary if he's in fact being looked at by Nebraska as a safety, because he was more of a corner early in his career. So Yeah, I don't think it's shocking. I mean, it's shocking from the standpoint that he's still playing college football. But I mean, he's coming to Nebraska as a walk-on. He's coming into a secondary that is pretty set as far as the depth and the talent in that room. I wouldn't expect Brandon Moore, even as an old guy, to be able to walk in here and play right away a significant role. But he's going to add an element of veteran leadership to that room. You know, kind of like what Trey Neal gave Nebraska back in 2018 in Frost and Fisher's first year, with his presence in the secondary. So yeah, he can do some of that, and perhaps get on the field. But I think more it's about what he can add with his maturity, because he's clearly a mature guy if he's still kicking this far into his college career and competing for a spot at a place like Nebraska with a coach like Travis Fisher who was first around him in 2016.
Well, Mitch, if I have the wrong read here, let me know. But the way I was seeing it yesterday was this is a guy who's gone through some trials and tribulations in his football career, and he wants one more go around before he hangs it up. And what's better than the guys who recruited you to UCF and the guys that really gave you your first chance? You're familiar with them. You just want one more chance to go out and play the game you love, but before your career ends. And well, Nebraska, you can go walk on there. They'll give you the chance, and they'll be loyal to you because you were loyal to them. That's the way I saw it.
Yeah, I think so. And, again, there's that comparison to Trey Neal, who did the same thing and went with those coaches when they left. Of course, that was at the beginning of this Nebraska run for those coaches. And this is now at the end. But, Brandon Moore is going to be familiar with Eric Chenander. He's going to be familiar with Barrett Ruud. So there's a lot there that I'm sure he's attracted to in Lincoln.
Mitch, real quick, what's on your radar? What's coming up from you and the Athletic?
Well, we got an open period of practice to view tomorrow, so I'll be interested in that, like I was, and a lot of people were last Monday. So that's next in camp. We're just making it through camp, one day at a time, I guess, to repeat what we hear from the players and coaches. But that's really what it is at this point of camp. After tomorrow, they're resting for a day and then back at it on the weekend. And we'll hear from Scott Frost on Saturday. And then next week, it's the start of school. It's the week before game week, leading right up to Sunday which will be like a Monday. And then Monday, two weeks from yesterday, the Huskers will be off to Dublin. So it's coming fast. And, we're just going to continue to follow all the developments in camp and talk to the players and coaches as they're made available.
Mitch Sherman with The Athletic. Great Husker coverage, and find him on Twitter at Mitch Sherman. Mitch, thanks for the time, bud. We'll get caught up again.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yep, there he is, Mitch Sherman with us here on Hail Varsity. And good stuff from Mitch. And Elijah, good take as one more rodeo for Moore. And that's probably a guy that wants to go out on his own terms opposed to injury.
And what if we heard from the Husker coaching staff through recruiting and trying to build a team? They want guys who love football. And a guy who's coming back for a 7th season because he wants one more run, that strikes me as a guy who loves football.
We'll dive into Little League World Series. The being talked about all over social media. Hail Varsity continues. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com. Just try me. Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you. It's Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Rick Kaczenski is coming up here in 20 minutes or so. Now, many of you are youth coaches, or you have coached. Some of you are umpires. I'm staring at one. And the rest of you are parents, if you have kids that have played. And you have 3 categories: good, bad, or don't care. And I go to the Little League World Series. We talked about it on the line change a little bit with Handley, longtime coach. Austin played ball. Elijah, did you play ball?
I quit baseball at age 12.
Yeah,
I started umpiring at 14, but
okay, well,
I quit baseball 12 because I went a whole
baseball
season.
Quit you?
It was like a whole season of youth baseball with one walk and 0 base hits. and I didn't like that. And I always considered myself a pitcher, and my coach didn't see me as a pitcher either. So I played a whole lot of left bench and as like 12U baseball, right field. So the two places where they could hide me, and I realized I didn't like baseball that much.
You charted the pitches, and you picked guys up.
I was a great teammate.
You were a wonderful teammate. I sucked. Never made a Legion team. That will shock nobody listening. But my heart was there. My brother, really good. He played baseball for Southeast, and then also at Doane. He was a really good ball player. Junior, we're working on him becoming consistent. So I get to Little League, and you have really two lines in the sand. Oh, this was so great. This is important. And this being the Oklahoma player who got drilled in the noggin, dropping, getting up, taking his base, and then the pitcher. And what team was that pitcher on?
Was it
the opposing pitcher?
Louisiana? Was it Louisiana?
Louisiana. So
Maybe.
the kid was a mess on the hill. And
it was Texas.
Texas. Okay. So there was Texas, Oklahoma sportsmanship. Stop and just listen to that statement for a second. Texas and Oklahoma sportsmanship. You had the Oklahoma kid come over during the game and hug the distraught Texas pitcher. It's being championed on social media. There's millions of views on different Twitter handles that have posted it. And then there is lots of commentary. El Presidente chiming in from Barstool. This isn't good sportsmanship. It's dumb. You got this kid on the ropes and he's rattled. Trip to Williamsport on the line. You can play patty cake after. As far as the pitcher goes, that's your plate. So that's one take. I did an informal household poll. I texted Junior, said, would you go hug the guy after you got beaned? Quote, end quote, hell no. So I know where Junior's at, and I'm kind of proud. I think you can absolutely say your sorries and you good man afterwards. If the kid's really distraught, because you feel terrible. You feel terrible that presumably you feel terrible about drilling a kid in the head versus putting another runner on first. But even the kid's teammate who saw him from second get smoked in the head, he was clapping. He wasn't thinking about, is this kid going to be eaten from a straw for 8 months? Or no, he was like, okay, good. I'm moving over to third now. That was his instant reaction on camera. I'm gray here. I know I'm not supposed to be gray, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's better to be a nice human to one another. But there are those that you grew up with. Maybe you are this way, wired, that on the white lines, man, you are ultra and uber competitive and you want the win above all. There are teammates you've had like that drove you. I know MJ and Kobe wouldn't have gone over to give the dude a hug. Right. So it's nice to see that gesture, and it's okay to do during the game. Someone jumped on Twitter and says, if I'm the ump, I would have launched both of them for interrupting my game. Now, a little tongue in cheek there. What do you think of this, Elijah? I mean, I don't know that I would have done it. I would have beaned the guy. I would have felt horrible, but I don't know that I would have. It may have affected my focus because you feel bad about what you did, but you got to go kind of do your job in the name of winning.
See, I don't,
and that sounds like super selfish and shallow, but there's a winner, there's a loser, and that's how some kids are coached and brought up, and I totally get it.
And I don't think that your desire for winning should supersede being a good person on the field.
Don't be Ty Cobb and spike somebody.
But you also don't need to go over to this pitcher and give him a hug and give him words of encouragement in his ear for 30 seconds. Give him a fist bump, say, I'm good, let's keep playing. Get back over to first base and let's continue the game. If the pitcher's in his own head because he hit you in the head and you're good, that's your advantage. And you have done your part by saying, hey, man, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it and get back over to first. You don't need to have some motivational speech on the mound. That's what his coach is for. If his coach is worried because he looks so distraught, call a mound visit.
It's time to go
get
talk.
Out there, go talk to him. And if he still seems distraught, you go bring in the reliever. That's a part of the game. And if the pitcher feels bad because he hit the kid, well, guess what? There's a built-in advantage for a guy who gets hit. He gets first base without doing anything. He just had to stand in a box. He gets first base for free. He advances all the runners. He did his job, and it's because you messed up. That's the advantage that the base or the hitter, the base runner, whatever gets. Why do you feel all that bad whenever the kid has made it to first and he looks fine? He's planning on continuing to play, so he's clearly not hurt that bad from you hitting him in the head with a pitch. So if you can't handle that, maybe you need to go sit on the bench. Maybe your coach needs to bring in a reliever, but you don't need to be that guy out on first base now saying, oh man, you're doing great. You're pitching awesome. We're scared of you in the box. Like, you're just going to fuel the fire of that kid. And I don't know. He's being a good guy. Okay. That's cool with me, but you didn't have to be a good guy in that way. And I didn't like that aspect of this. Didn't have to turn into a motivational speech.
Here's the problem. The first baseman, the kid on first was the first to go talk to the pitcher.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Right? It's the opposing team who just got earholed was the first out there, not the shortstop, not the captain of the infield, not the catcher, not the opposing coach to go do the mound visit. It was the other guy. They were ready to play on, but the first baseman, the kid on first who got drilled, was the first one to go over and say. And it's normal for 12 and 13-year-olds if you kind of scare yourself because you scared somebody else with an erratic pitch. And you've seen heard horror stories about guys in the majors who got drilled. A couple of people croaked from them over the years. That's no good, but you got a lot going on. And you have folks that are just trolling. That's the other part of this, where you can take it or leave it, depending on what side of the fence you're on with how hard you play. You go on Herm Edwards here, you play to win the game without wanting to intentionally cause injury. But everyone's just in line here to back in El Presidente. So fascinating to see this cesspool grow on social media. We'll wind down hour one. Hail Varsity continues on. Rick Kaczenski on the way. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this first hour. Can get the show. We invite you to do so. You want to just hear it on the treadmill, taking a walk. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Hail Varsity Radio. And you want to watch it, it's on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out. Welcome to do it. A reminder to get buckled up. You drink, you drive, you lose. The Nebraska Department of Highway Safety doesn't want you drinking and driving, and reminds you to buckle up and be sober and don't get pulled over, and get a ride if you are going to enjoy and imbibe on a night. Message brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Get to some of your emails and reaction on Little League and the hug seen around Twitter, sportsmanship or show. And I believe the intent was sportsmanship, not to get 5 million views. I hope that wasn't the intent. But the pitcher that was erratic and being the kid needs to have his teammates and coach be the first out there. Mm-hmm. That's my humble take.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's just this, it's almost the participation trophy argument that you've been hearing a lot over the recent years, where, you know what? It is okay to want to win. It's okay for you to be happier after a game if you win it. It's not about the love of the game at all times, because let's be honest, anyone who has competed in sports knows it is more fun to win. No matter what your coach says, especially if you're in the midst of a losing season, they say, well, you're out here for the love of the game. Keep on working, keep on getting better. It's not fun to be getting better. It's fun to have gotten better and to now be winning. And I think we need to make it sure that the kids know, hey, it's okay to have a desire to win. not just in sports, but in anything you do. It's not okay to be a bad person in your pursuit of winning.
Don't be a scumbag.
Don't be a scumbag in your pursuit of winning, but it is okay to have a desire to win.
Well put. Well put. Brand value, good stuff from Mitch Sherman this hour on where he's at, where the Nebraska brand is at when it comes to polling and where they come in. And it's still a strong brand. It's diminished a bit, if you ask high schoolers. But this new platform that looks like it's going to be Fox, CBS, NBC. It'll be interesting, and I think it should, if you have strong teams beyond Ohio State. And I think you're going to have a deep conference. You'll be able to pull some numbers. I mean, CBS has got to be all over it. I mean, CBS and at the onset's like, oh, there's no more Bama, Ole Miss, Bama, A&M at 2:30 anymore. But they'll be able to regroup and recalibrate, assuming this thing goes through. And the price tag was quite different. I think we're talking $50 million was the difference. You had $330 million for a per year for 7 years was what ESPN was offering. And then you have Fox and CBS going, well, we'll go 380 with you for the Big Ten, as that $1 billion price tag is right there for the Big Ten. And it kind of comes down to future expansion as well. Do you add more beyond what you've just acquired? And if it means more TV, then yes is the answer. If it dilutes, then maybe you sit tight. Hour 2, Rick Kaczenski on the way with Hail Varsity Radio, and we are presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, Hour 2. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery. It's another Tuesday with Kaz. We welcome in former Nebraska and Iowa defensive coach Rick Kaczenski. Kaz, gearing up here, man. We're down to just a couple of weeks till Ireland. Football's just around the corner. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Yep. So it's right around the corner. Be here before we know it. Yeah, I'm doing well. And so, on the football down here. So, yep, one sport to the next.
Yeah, you go from that summer ball to the gridiron. So how did you consume football as a kid? What do you remember kind of tractor beaming you in? You played it, yes, but when it came to college football Saturdays, Notre Dame, Penn State, your region of the country, the Big Ten footprint, that's what you grew up in. But what kind of wound your crank, so to speak, with the pregame stuff? I mean, were you a big game day guy? Were you a ABC? And I get into that because of the Big Ten media rights may sooner rather than later be moving completely away from ESPN.
Yeah, well, I think and obviously it was a different era, but the kids from my generation, I had a brother that was 7 years older than me, and a cousin that was 9 years older than me. And, you'd go to they'd have the high school JV games. You'd have the high school varsity games Friday night. I mean, you're talking Eastern Ohio, Western PA. I mean, you got guys literally betting paychecks on high school games.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you go in these mill towns, Farrell, Pennsylvania, Sharon, Pennsylvania. I mean, it was rowdy. I grew up looking at my football weekend. I'd go to my brother's practice. I'm in first, second grade. He's in high school. My cousin's playing there too at Cathedral. I mean those dudes were they were my heroes, my NFL players. The guys that, man, I remember going to high school practices, and a high school coach who I eventually played for, Minna George. He had coached for I think over 30 years at one high school or two high schools in Erie. And, to play for the same guy that I remember going on the field at being in first grade and the dude, guy giving me a football and, just being in fear of him and in awe of him and, having that respect for him as a young kid and then having that same respect playing for him and then to have the opportunity to be coached by the same guy that coached my brother who was older than me, my cousins and all that. It was pretty cool. So, it kind of started Friday. You go to the stadium be packed. And then, Saturday morning you had the high school JV games and then, college football, but, all the JV games, all the parochial grade school games on Saturday, they were all done early. They started playing those in the morning. So everybody came home. I mean, you'd have local radio shows. You'd have, George Paterno on the radio, Notre Dame football. I don't know if it was Westwood 1 then, but you flip back and forth. You had all the pundits on the radio. So it was radio on the car ride home. And then you just sat in front of the TV and watched ball. And, back then that was what was cool. It was the best teams. It was the national games of the week. That's why kids from Western PA, you saw Oklahoma and Texas and Nebraska, Oklahoma and those rivalries. And those were the guys that you looked up to. But to be honest with you, I don't remember a whole lot other than getting in front of the TV about a minute before the game started and then watching football. I mean, imagine that, having a Saturday where you just actually came in from outside and until the game came on, and instead of watching like 8 sad stories on college game day with sad music playing in the background and, people who are on there advocating for the renaming of Mount Rushmore, telling you how to think. And, it's like you don't even think about football these days until the game starts. There's so much other BS going on. So wish it was, I know it sounds like a damn old fogey, but I miss the old days. But, so that was my experience. It was kind of all week, but, games Friday, Saturday, and then some of the bigger parochial grade school games were played on Sunday afternoons.
Rick Kaczenski is with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Do you think it's a risky move, Kaz, to break up with ESPN, or do you think their platform is? I mean, it's still mega, they've got.
Schmidt, you know it, and Elijah, you guys know it. I mean, ESPN's losing. They lost 10 million viewers. I mean, I think they lost. It's still a lot. I think they're somewhere in the 70 million viewers, but they lost 10. Now, the streaming and all those type of things take away from that. But they've lost a lot of viewership. They've lost a lot of subscribers, even with all the methods of obtaining and watching college football. But I think just when you get to Saturday, we're a country that's highly stressed. We're a country that's dealing with all this political stuff thrown in our face every day of the week, and trying to pick sides. By the time Saturday comes, I think people are kind of getting tired of this stuff. They just want football. And when you look at CBS, with CBS losing the SEC, I just think it's perfect timing, and I think it's a great marriage for the Big Ten to get that exposure, especially on those time slots. I know down here, you're talking people playing fall baseball, football. I mean, people plan their Saturdays around those slots, around those time slots for SEC football. And I think the Big Ten is just as passionate as the SEC. So I think it's a great thing. I think change is good. And what I like about those stations with the Big Ten is it's all about sports. If you're going to have a story, talk about the student athletes, right? Talk about the kid that came from nowhere. Talk about the guys, all these student athletes that do good And, this is just my opinion. I mean, you just see so much about people doing bad and players doing bad and coaches doing bad. And, there's millions of kids playing athletics across the country. Man, there's a hell of a lot more good than bad. And I just think that people just want to get back to sports. Let's get away from the drama. Let's get some football coaches. I love those panels that Fox have. I love CBS's panels. I mean, you got football guys on there. I think what Rinaldi was, like you mentioned, he was a great storyteller. He's gone. I can't even tell you. I can't name 3 people on ESPN right now. Honestly, couldn't name it. So, so I think it'll be a good marriage. I think it's time for a change. I think it'll be detrimental for ESPN, and I think it'll benefit the Big Ten. And that's my opinion. That's me, being educated on it in about 30 seconds.
Kaz, I look at ESPN and what they're invested in. They're invested in the ACC. They're invested in the SEC. And, when it comes to the playoff and playoff expansion, they can't keep Ohio State out of the playoff if they're unbeaten or a one-loss team. They can't and won't keep Notre Dame off. Those are the teams that people want to see. They won't keep Penn State out. My question is, I look at coverage, and it's been a while since Nebraska, Iowa's been on a platform. Maybe it was FS1, maybe it was Fox, but it's been a while. And I don't know. I don't remember what network you guys were on in 2014 for that overtime comeback. I do know that it's not bad. BTN does a great job, great network, but that's your Black Friday game on BTN. It's not what Colorado, Nebraska used to be. Black Friday, bang, you knew it was 2:30 kickoff on ABC with Musburger, right? So that's not, Nebraska still has brand and still has eyeballs, and that's part of the greater package of getting SC, getting UCLA, still having that inventory of Ohio State, Michigan State. And I'll ask you this, does this deal with NBC and the Big Ten, does that signal to you that Notre Dame would come with a Big Ten schedule like they've done with the ACC? Do you think that's a sign?
I wouldn't, man. I wouldn't look into signs or anything like that. I don't know if anybody knows. I think when you go back and you look at it, I think people learn who's making the decisions. You look how quiet and how few people knew about USC and UCLA. I think I don't think people are talking like they used to. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any signs or anything like that. And I think the thing about Notre Dame, like I said, the footprint, it just makes sense, academically, socially, pageantry wise, for me as a Notre Dame alum, I would love to, when I was at Iowa and Nebraska, I always hoped that, we'd end up playing Notre Dame in a bowl, or having an opportunity to play them, out of schedule in an early game or something. But I just don't think anybody knows. But once again, like we said before, they're the prettiest girl that doesn't have a prom date yet. They hold the cards and they can do whatever they want. Money isn't the driving force behind any decision that they'll make. And I just think right now they're courting the best suitor. But as far as whether there's a lean or there's a sign, I just can't say. But Schmidt and Elijah, quite frank, I hadn't followed it a whole lot to be honest with you.
Kaz, last thought here on the TV deal, probably before we move on to other things. But I just want to get your take on the fact that the A spot, the spot that's making all the money, is Fox for that big noon kickoff spot. And I don't know, the longer I've become accustomed to this big noon kickoff spot, the more I've grown to like it. I can wake up, make myself breakfast, and then, oh, look at that, my favorite football team is playing at 11 a.m. It's not in the way of anything. I can still have a Saturday night. But I look at that, and what's that like from the perspective of a player and a coach trying to get your team up and ready to go for an 11 a.m. kickoff? What does that look like?
Oh, you'd rather do that. Absolutely. I mean, when before the Big Ten Network, a majority of the Big Ten games, when I was at Iowa, they were 11 o'clock. I mean, you absolutely love those. You're up 6 in the morning, you're eating pregame meal, you go to the stadium, you go play. The worst thing for a player or a coach is just sitting around all day and having anxiety. You're just looking at the clock. Are you eating enough? Are you drinking enough? Did you eat too much? Did you drink too much? And you're watching games, especially as a coach, you start creating ghosts. Oh man, what if they do this? What if Michigan State runs the shovel pass on third down? Then you're texting your guys and saying, "Hey, watch the shovel pass." I mean, it's the amount of ghosts that he would create. There is absolutely nothing. Night games are for the fans. They are for the fans. Right now, the kids like playing in them because of the atmosphere and all, but they don't like them until you actually run out of the tunnel, man. But if everybody had their druthers, we'd wake up at 8 o'clock, have breakfast, and we'll meet you on the field at 9:15. I mean, and go play because you want to go. You're just anxious. I mean, you want to take the test, right? I mean, you've studied. It's get the paper in front of me. Let me get the pencil on the pad and let's figure out where we're at. Let's go. I can tell you, man, especially with Bo, I mean, we finally changed, I think in like 2013, but when I got to Nebraska, I mean, I remember talking to Dobson. I was like, dude, what is the deal? We were getting to the stadium like 3 hours before game time. I'm like, I'm going to get with Jay Terry, man, get me some clothes. I'm going to go for, jog around the friggin' Rose Bowl, man. I'm like, this is torture. You're just sitting there looking at a clock with absolutely nothing to do. There's only so many times you can read the program from front to back. But so we changed that, and then you kind of just get to the stadium, and then bang, 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 go play. You get into your routine. But night games. To be honest with you, night games suck. Night games on the road suck because you're sitting in a hotel all day. You really, there's really nowhere to go. Coaches don't have their offices. You don't have your meeting rooms. And then, you're just sitting there, and then you're going in enemy territory. People are tailgating, they're juiced up, and, you create some tough environments. And same with Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska, hard to beat Nebraska. Hard to beat Nebraska at night with a packed house. I mean, that's some of the best environments. And I mean, I've seen them all pack every conference. I mean, I don't know if there's a better environment at night, including LSU. I've been down there at night. I don't know if there's a better environment at night than Ohio State in Nebraska. Gosh, Elijah, night games, they are terrible. I hate them. I absolutely hate them as a coach. Okay, you win. It's great. You got to let traffic clear out. You're getting home at, your wife and kids leave early because they're like 5 and they fell asleep in the second quarter. And then, you're sitting in traffic listening to radio shows, and you get home about 2, you eat, and you shouldn't. So now you got a brick in your belly. Then you get up at 7, you're back in the office watching the next opponent. So night games ain't a whole lot. They ain't all they're cracked up to be for coaches and players. That's for sure.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Rick Kaczenski is with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Kaz, reaction, if you want to, on Oklahoma assistant Cale Gundy resigning after reading aloud, in his words, a shameful word off a player's iPad, a statement, and then a follow-up statement by Coach Venables. And he had a guy that spent most of his career on the sidelines there at Oklahoma.
Schmitty, what are you trying to do to me, huh? What are you trying to create some, come on, man. You're
no, I'm asking as a guy who's been in the meeting room,
I won't touch the actual, you can't win. I mean, either side of it. I mean, obviously it's wrong. You just can't, it was a extremely dumb mistake. But I go back, and I'm not talking about this situation because, listen, man, there's not a coach out there that's been bashed, right? Mm-hmm. Go talk to somebody with people that never met me. I'm sure they have some nice things to say about me. I could care less. And, same thing with Bo. When people say it's about what the players think. I just had about 2 weeks ago, an hour and 20-minute conversation with Mike Daniels on the phone. That's what's important. That's what's important. Getting a text from Malik at Christmas, getting a text from Joe Keels, talking to Joe Keels. I mean, that you go down the line. I mean, I just talked to Jay Cotton for about an hour and 15 minutes.
How is old Butch doing?
The dude, he's going to law school. I mean, he's unbelievable, man. I mean, the guy's got life figured out. I mean, it's just amazing what he's accomplished. And I mean, we couldn't get off the phone, man. And that's what it's about. So when you look at, and I'm not like I said, I'm not going to touch that situation because. It's just wrong. You can't win either side of it. People are saying there's more to it, blah, blah, blah. I go back, what are the players? Because that's what you get into coaching because the players, right? What's it about? And, when the guys and I'm a guy that's been bashed publicly on all ends, but I don't, that's not important. That's important to you when you're young because you don't know what's important. As you get older, you figure out what's important. And, those guys figure out that everything you did was in their best interest, right? Mm-hmm. So that's all that matters. Once you can figure out what's important, who's important. But man, that's a tough situation, man. What you feel for is everybody involved, but especially it's the family. He's a big boy. He'll be able to handle it, but everybody's got family, everybody's got kids, got a wife, all that. They're the ones too that, they're innocent bystanders that be taking some unwarranted shrapnel. And that's the tough part about it, man.
Kaz, last thought. Practice continues to move forward. Nebraska had a scrimmage on Saturday, and sounds like the D and the Russian specifically had a pretty good day. What's the minimum? What's the minimum you can get by with depth-wise? How many bodies do you have to have in the Big Ten on the defensive line?
Man, we did it with 6 at Iowa, but 5 of them played in the NFL. So if you got 5 NFL guys, that's all you need.
Duly noted.
Ideally, you need. I mean, to make it to game 12, you need 8 to be good. I mean, to be really good. I mean, you need 10 guys, and you need 10 guys you can get in the rotation without a big drop off. And you got to be smart on how you do it. You pick your spot, and you figure out the rhythm of the game, and you keep track of the snaps, and you're able to do that stuff now. And it's amazing if you get a guy 10 snaps, how much that'll help. Mm-hmm. Your first string guy, or so yeah. But you got to have at least 8 because you're never going to have 8 guys playing, right? You might have 8 to 10, but 5 of those guys won't be healthy. 3 of them will be nicked up. 2 of them won't be practicing that week, and you're trying to get them to the game. So, you might go into week 1 feeling good about 10 guys. By about week 5, you might have 6 guys that are kind of healthy, and you're trying to get to that dang bye week so you can get your legs back underneath you. But ideal world, you have 10, but man, let me tell you, Ohio State might have 10. Michigan might have 8, Iowa might have 6, Nebraska might, you just kind of, and that's where you got to find a guy. You got to find a story, right? You got to find somebody that you weren't counting on to step up. And that's what's great about coaching. That's what's great about the Big Ten. There's a story everywhere. Every year there's a dude that just people weren't expecting. And that's the great thing about it. So I think you'll see that, but you got to have at least 8 bodies that you can line up and at least make people make people run around you. So.
Guys, I know we said last stop. I got one more quick one for you. Tell me how the platooning system works with that D line. What do you think works best? Do you want to have guys out there that are comfortable next to each other and guys that have practice a lot next to each other and know how the guy next to them is going to play throughout a game, or you just get the best 3 or 4 out there and hope they play well together? How does that work for you?
Yeah, it's your job as a coach. Everybody's got it. Obviously when you got, when you have special guys like Randy and Malik and Vincent and all that, you can strategically place them, on specific downs, pressures, things like that. But you just want to have the luxury of having good players. What we did, we always played at Iowa and Nebraska. We always played left and right. I always looked at those positions completely different. Playing left tackle on offense, there's a reason why those dudes make a lot more money than a right tackle, right? They're 2 different positions. You just can't take a center and say, oh, it's just, move him to guard and he'll be a guard. No, they're different positions, and it's no different. So we always viewed, the right side of the defensive line and the left side of the defensive line, completely different. I wanted certain guys getting the majority of their snaps with a certain hand down and a certain leg back. Now they had to play with both hands down and both hands back at some point, but we kept track of those. We kept track of those reps, during the week. But obviously, Elijah, I think that the more guys play together, yeah, obviously they gel, but also, what you saw when you have experienced guys and young guys coming along, that puts pressure on those young guys to catch up to that train. The train ain't slowing down for you to jump on, right? You need to speed up to get in line. And I think that's what'll be good. What you'll see with Nebraska is, you got some experienced guys. If those young guys want to play, if those new guys want to play, man, they got, it's their responsibility to get up to snuff. So, but when you can play next to a guy with a lot of experience, and I don't even think it's necessarily playing next to a guy. I think it's the game snaps. I think it's the game experience. I think it's the knowing that what's more important is the actual experiences, seeing the formations, understanding how they turn the protection, understanding if the back's staying in this formation or the back's flaring, or how many are they getting, 4 receivers out? Are they getting, those types of things? Are they getting 3 receivers out, and how they're blocking you, and everybody knowing those things so that now you know how to attack it. So I know that's long-winded, but to me, what I always thought as a coach is having experienced guys, not necessarily specific guys playing next to one another, or having young guys who proved that they earned the right to play next to those older guys, because it was my obligation to those older guys. If we were putting a young cat in there, he better know what the hell he was doing. So, so I think you'll see that with Nebraska, with the experience that they have. I mean, I anticipate them having a great year, but especially up front. But no, I never got caught up with, hey, these 2 guys playing together, or these 2 guys playing next, or these guys playing this or that, or this guy playing a 1, or this guy playing a 3. You had to know all the positions and know all the techniques that come with the position.
Rick Kaczenski, Kaz, a lot of fun to catch up. We'll talk next week, bud. Thanks for a few minutes.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Good to spend time with Kaz. A Tuesday with Kaz. Love his insight, the rotation, and the chemistry is so important. Really good story on chemistry and that Bama factor, right? Yeah, you have Stephon Wynn that not only is 6'3", 6'4", with great length, but he's a guy that was good enough to get recruited by Alabama. We talk about and question chemistry. Can it work? Can it work from a coaching staff standpoint? Can it work from 15 new faces? And can it all hit in 1 year, in a mega year for Nebraska football? And good story by Jimmy Watkins. Want to give him a shout out. And he had a quick catch up with Wynn. Wynn met the media yesterday. And Wynn's perspective on things is kind of a beacon of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge. And, oh, yeah, by the way, dude, what was it like to play for Saban? You know, I mean, not everyone gets to do that. And it was real simple, and you're always on edge. It's a lot like Bill Belichick, and that's no coincidence. You always need to be competing. You're always trying to get better. You can't settle. And Kaz used to always say this: you can have a bad play, but you can't have two bad plays in a row. You can have a bad play, but don't have a bad day. And if you had a bad day, you have wins saying, look, dude, you lost your job. That's how loaded they were. That's how loaded Bama's been. You know this with all their NFL draft picks, but really the secret's been consistency. And that's what's been eluding Nebraska. There's been flashes, there's been moments, but you haven't put it together for 4 quarters, and they aim to change that, and a guy like Wynn can help with that. Hail Varsity, we continue on. Better Call Saul recap coming up next.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back in Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Mike St. James, avid Better Call Saul connoisseur, with us as we are down to 1 episode. Waterworks aired last night. Warning to all, spoiler alert to all. Just listen anyway and go rewatch it. Mike St. James with us. Mike, how we doing?
Oh, great. You know, we are watching a top-tier show go out like John Elway and Michael Jordan. This is an awesome season.
With the Wizards? Sorry.
For the first time.
Thank you. No, I get you. I know. Elway, Jordan, there we have it. I love it. This was good, and I want to start with Kim's story and the goon she's dating down in Florida instead of Saul.
How'd you like that sex
Yep. How do you like Kim with dark hair?
Great.
How do you like Kim with dark hair?
Oh, God. You know, I don't know. She needs the ponytail. She needs a ponytail. And I like what she's doing now. You feel for her, and she's actually redeeming herself. This is the redemption of Kim Wexler. She lost her ponytail, but she got her soul back. I think she was better off with the ponytail, though.
Yeah, Kim's down in Florida. She's alive. Jimmy reaches out and she's like, I'm glad you're alive. And then he goes, Robert De Niro, Goodfellas, on said phone booth. But
yeah,
we're getting down to the end, and I kind of called my shot, so I'm going to shamelessly pat myself on the back about Carol Burnett ratting out Saul Goodman. But I didn't know it was going to be life alert, and I didn't know that Saul was going to go beyond elder harm. You know what I mean? He was elder abuse. He was going to, I don't know, he was a strangler. And then
he had that phone cord in his hand.
Yeah,
he was ready to do it.
Now he's set to flee, but he's trying to just sabotage himself between attempted or thinking about using an urn to whack the cancer patient.
Yeah.
And then go after Carol Burnett's character, the elderly woman that found the Albuquerque con man.
Yeah, but you notice that Saul has stopped himself from going full Walter White on this. He didn't. He gave her back her life alert and let her make that call. And he didn't end up whacking the guy with his dead dog's ashes. Of course, that's because that guy fell asleep, so he didn't have to. But he hasn't quite gone that far, and maybe he's pulling himself back. So that leaves some options open for the last episode.
Okay, the series finale, where you and I are going to meet at the Hail Varsity Club Monday for it. All right?
Yes.
We are going to trank dart our old boy Timo and get him up there with us. and we will enjoy and we will watch. Does this end like Jesse, or does this end like Walter White? Do you think Saul gets whacked, or do you think he calls the squeegee man again, squeegee vac, and disappears a second time because he's in trouble. He's big time in trouble.
Yeah. I think they will keep them both alive. I think Saul's going to stay alive. I think Kim continues to live out through the end of the episode, through the end of the season, because I think, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they might want to return to these characters.
Yeah, okay. A reboot?
Yeah, you never know.
Well, I hope. Better Call Saul recap. Mike St. James with us, Hail Varsity Radio, Waterworks. What do you think of Kim's performance on the transfer bus in the airport when she just lost it?
God, that was amazing. That reminded me of me after I flew back from the 2003 Alamo Bowl when Nebraska beat Michigan State.
I thought it reminded me of you after the 2015 game where Brandon Riley got forced horribly out of bounds, completely mugged, completely just accosted, and made a hell of a catch. I'll bring Brandon Riley's office is 2 doors down. I'm going to have him sit in with us next Monday.
Oh, God, no. I still have nightmares.
BR, you want to stop by about 5:40? This is Mike. He likes Michigan State.
Oh, God, no.
St. James is going to lose it in the bar room. We could do that. I mean, that'd be quite funny. But
please have mercy.
I will. So, I'd like to see. It was really fascinating too with Jesse Pinkman having a smoke with Kim, and then
how cool is that?
That was really cool.
There are critics who put stuff like that and they say, "Oh, it's fan service. That's kind of cheap." But man, those two characters, they are kind of mirror images of each other in their respective shows. Mm-hmm. And God, it was so cool to see them having a smoke together.
Yeah, I in Kim's confession where she wrote a note admitting all that went down and then sitting down with Howard's wife, full confession. Yeah. She's like, dude, I don't know where Howard's body is. So they may not prosecute me, but she's totally repenting.
Did you notice the one thing she hedged on a little bit? She mentioned Saul and she said, assuming he's still alive.
Yeah,
she didn't let her know.
Yeah, she still isn't going to rat him out.
Yeah.
Well,
so God, next episode is going to be awesome. What are you hoping for?
Well, give me wow is what I want. And when I saw the way Breaking Bad ended, that was wow. I was a little less wowed with my other favorite show, Peaky Blinders. The movie better deliver. And even even El Camino, I thought was pretty good. I mean, I know folks are like, so I thought that was necessary. What happens to Jesse? And
that was fun. That was a good show.
Yeah, I thought that was a good flick. So give me, you see the tease of Saul in a wrecked car. So does he get down to the border trying to escape? I don't know.
I don't know. That is so cool. We have no idea what's going to happen next week. And we want them to stick the landing and do that. And these people have shown that they know how to stick the landing. Yeah, so they're acting a great job.
They're 2 for 2 on it. But what might work too is, if Kim gets away a la Jesse to your comparison, does Saul go down like Walter? Because Saul's been a scumbag for a while. We now know why it got shaped.
Yeah. God, I don't know. Do they have the guts to kill him off at the end?
His brother's comment, Jimmy having a law license is like a chimp having a machine gun. So Mike St. James, Better Call Saul aficionado. Mike, be good. We'll see you next Monday.
One more to go. See you, Schmitty.
All right, buddy. There he is, Mike St. James, avid Spartan fan. We should get Brandon Riley on set for that. That'd be all right. We'll wind down a Tuesday. It's Hail Varsity, and we're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Get the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, get the podcast, subscribe to it, audio-wise, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, video. Subscribe and follow. It is going to be free. As Beluto said, it don't cost nothing. The Hail Varsity YouTube channel, the video portion of the show there. Big thanks to Rick Kaczenski. Big thanks to Mitch Sherman and Mike St. James recapping Better Call Saul. Federal judge saying no soup for you to the 3 live golfers trying to compete in the FedEx Cup playoffs. So that's Taylor Gooch, Matt Jones, and Hudson Swafford. Hudson. I like the name Hudson, but Hudson screams country club. Anywho, they cannot be part of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Tomorrow on the show, lead college football play-by-play man. He's done it for years. He got to kick it with Beano Cook back in the day. Tim Brando going to be with us, get his thoughts on the Big Ten rights with Fox for sure, but beyond, and also an outlook on Nebraska from Brando's point of view. And then Husker insider Mike Babcock from Hail Varsity. Babber's going to join us on the show Thursday. Coach Barnett and Jeremiah Searles set to join us. Also going to have a Lars Anderson sighting this week. So
What a week.
Yeah, working on it. Excited for that. And we are geared up. Tomorrow will be good. We'll have more Whipple tomorrow. And we'll have more Whipple. We'll have more players. We'll have more offense. And we'll see where things are going. I hope there's a chance to hear from Coach Raiola. You know, where's the O-line at? And pretty soon it's going to get down to game week install, and away we go with gearing up for Northwestern, because that's just around the corner.
Well, what's on the docket for you after the show here? Because I know that here in about 10 minutes, I'm going to be giving Lincoln Police a call because my car got tagged over the weekend, and then I just saw a police report out that 2 more cars were tagged in much the same manner, same color of spray paint, similar-ish design.
How would you rate the artwork?
It was childish at best. Like, okay. and not in like any phallic designs or anything like that. I'm just talking like childish in terms of amateurish. It was just like a squiggle down the side of my car. Like,
this is not Mr. Hankey Elijah's talking about, but something else. So it wasn't a gross pick like that.
No, just like annoying. It's like, who would spray paint a squiggle on someone's driver's door? Why would you do that? And it sounds to be much the same out at Holmes Lake today or yesterday, where people just had random
damn
designs.
Handwriting if you're going to tag somebody's driver's side door.
Yeah, so I am. We'll see. Maybe I'll be like a witness in court someday for this vandal on the loose.
Junior was home those nights. Just letting you know.
Well, I mean, that'd be a long trek up for him, for a kid who's not even 16, can't even drive, to get all the way up to my place in North Lincoln.
He's got sick buddies, though.
Oh.
But they're not into that.
See, I live on a busy street, too. Like, usually I'm pretty safe.
Well, they got to have some doorbell cam footage, I would think.
I don't have a door cam. I shouldn't say that.
Next week, Elijah talks about the other door that gets tagged. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 4 at Hail Varsity. Big thanks to you for tuning in and checking out the podcast. Talk to you tomorrow at 4 on Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.